everybody, welcome to the Unspoken Pitch Show, where we're sharing stories of people closing deals. Today we have our special guest, Sanjay, the director of Visionary Digital Studios. It's a digital agency based in Australia that create animated videos to help people really distill their unique selling point. My man, welcome to the show.
Such a pleasure to chat. Good to see you.
Yeah,
I love
really.
The intro, man. Well played.
Thank you. It's definitely been a long time run. I know you and I, we did a show before. I never really uploaded it, but now it's full official, buddy.
I'm still waiting for my copy of that production.
Definitely will be tagging you in that one. So my man, I definitely want to get right into it, right? So Visionary Digital Studios. I'm curious, how did you get the name?
Yeah, you understand the heartache of putting together business names. We went through a few different ones. I guess I wanted something that implied that we weren't just a kind of run-of-the-mill company trying to put out really quick and dirty products. I wanted something that showed that we were trying to make an impact in the world, and Visionary was the first thing that came to mind. We originally registered Visionary Animation Studios 4 years ago, and then we realized that was going to severely limit us to what we could produce, right? So we changed to Visionary Digital Studios, and that's where we're at.
Smart move, buddy. Smart move. I like that, man. I like that. So I did a little bit of stalking, a little bit of understanding of your background, and
I love it.
You came from Deloitte, buddy, and then moving into starting your own agency. Like, tell me, what was that transition like for you? Why? Actually, why did you start all of a sudden?
Yeah, absolutely. So I climbed the corporate ladder, I guess, like any good Indian kid. I did that for a good 10 years, So started off with a lot of medium-sized medium-sized corporate companies. So we were managing e-commerce systems. And that was great. And then one of the companies that I was working for got bought over by Deloitte. So really started working in one of the biggest corporate consultancies on the planet, which was super, super exciting. I was running a team that were running big enterprise application software at the time. So once I brought that team across to Deloitte, I think for me, I'd done everything that I needed to do in corporate IT. I was super, super passionate about the marketing, the branding, the sales side of what my team was doing at Deloitte. So I thought, it was time to embark on that next challenge, on the next journey, and here we are.
How did you get into video animation? I'm curious.
It's an interesting story. So about 4 years ago, while I was working for Deloitte, I kind of saw an ad that appeared up on my Facebook feed, and it was one of those typical start your own business today, it's super easy type ads, something that I would gawk at today. But for some reason at the time, it really kind of appealed to me. And my idea at the time was to quit my job, start one of these 4-hour work week businesses and travel all over the world, right? But once I'd got into the course, once I'd got into business, I learned that you can't make any impact. You can't really change the world. You can't enjoy the passion of business if you're working 4-hour work weeks. So we built a full-scale agency. Obviously, we started with just animated videos for startups, but these days we're working with a lot bigger corporate companies, usually tech companies, and we're producing all sorts of digital marketing services on the back of those videos so that we can create a bit more impact and do bigger things.
Exciting. Just because of an ad, that's why you got into it.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting. So I feel like it was a Facebook ad. It's a good 4 years ago now. I can't quite remember, but I feel like it's a Facebook ad. And it's funny now that my company is selling digital products now using the same style of Facebook ads.
So that's interesting, buddy. I know today's show is really about people closing deals. I'm curious, how did you really begin with getting your first client? Do you recall that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think every business owner recalls their first sale. For me, we were making $600 sales in our first 4 sales, and even though it was a little sale, I can still remember the jubilation that I felt making those deals. We were actually losing money on each sale at that time, but my idea was just to get my foot in the door with 4 clients so we could build out our processes, our systems, and then have some testimonials and case studies to go after some bigger clients.
And how did you do it?
Yeah, so I mean, from there, when we were small, we were still using things like cold email. There was a stage where I was sending out something like 400 or 500 emails all over the world every single day. Those were crazy times. I mean, a few years ago, sending out cold emails wasn't as unusual, so it wasn't as common as it is today. So we actually were getting quite a few sales from just sending out cold emails, getting responses from CEOs, and taking them from there. But I guess in the last couple of years, the email servers, Gmail especially, has gotten a lot smarter, so you can't get your emails through to important customers, basically. So
Absolutely.
that's how we made our first few sales. I used to have some tactics and little techniques to contact people on LinkedIn and things like that. But obviously,
Wait. Before we get into the whole specific, like I want to get back into that very moment, right? Like, share me about that. Do you recall that moment, that what you wrote in that email to get that very first sale? Do you recall what you wrote?
yeah, I mean, not word for word, but we've actually put together articles that are available on our website about exactly how we used to get clients through cold email. And for some industries, it still works. So we've still got the templates up there. Some of our clients are using them at the moment. But it was just a really simple 6-line email, basically. Hello, and then the client's name or the prospect's name, then a 2-line explanation of a problem that they might have been experiencing right now. Are you having a trouble explaining your service to prospects? And then after that, well, here's a case study of how we solve that problem using video for a client. Contact me if you're interested. Just a short email. If we were sending out 500 per day, we might get, say, 10 or 15 responses, of which one of those responses may become a client after a week.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's some
Pretty
really good,
good,
like,
right?
yeah, absolutely. And you said that you recall your very first person that you actually closed?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I recall my first sale. It's funny. It was actually quite a good client. They were quite well established, a startup, but they had plenty of funding. And I'd sent them a cold email saying something along the lines of, "Look, we're just starting out our business. Here's an example of what we can do. We want to do a cost price video project for you. All that you'll have to do for us in return is write us a spectacular testimonial if we do a good job." And so I remember I was at my job at Deloitte at that stage, got a response, and that client happened to be down the road. So super excited. I
So
remember
exciting.
super excited. I feel like I was a child then, but I was dressed up really in my best shirt. I was like so prepared. I spent hours preparing for this meeting. Walked in, ran a 3-hour meeting, got the sale. Absolute excitement. Whereas these days, I can do the preparation in 10 minutes. So I would never wear a tie into a meeting anymore. It's a lot more casual.
Jeez, that's amazing. So you went during your lunch break and then you went to the meeting and you closed the deal. Is that kind of what happened?
Absolutely that. So literally went during my lunch break, walked to the client in my best shirt, ran a massive sales meeting, and then closed that sale for, it would have been $600, and then came back to Deloitte where I was earning 6-figure salary and continued my job.
Absolutely. Well, that's definitely where the adventure begins, right? And I'm curious, like, did you have any, I mean, obviously someone was interested. Did you have anything, prepped for? Like, were you kind of, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm just kind of winging it. Is that what happened? Or did you kind of prepare it, overly prepared?
I mean, both at the same time, Scott. So I was very, very prepared for maybe the initial 10 strategy sessions I ran. Super prepared, knew exactly what I was going to say, had done so much research, but also, especially those first few sales meetings, I don't know if you remember, but certainly for me, I remember being super, super anxious. I'd be thinking about it days before. Very nerve-wracking walking into a business, representing your own company, selling your own deal. Obviously, we've done it hundreds of times now, so I don't even think about it, but I'm really enjoying the trip down memory lane.
Yeah, absolutely. How long are you now operating now?
Yeah, so we've been going 4 years.
Wow, 4 years, buddy. This is amazing. And I'm curious,
Absolutely.
your salesmanship must have changed dramatically, correct?
Dramatically, yep, absolutely.
Walk me through the journey of what that like, and I guess probably to very much begin, like, what's been your proudest moment in a deal being closed? Tell me about that.
Yeah, let's do it. So, my proudest sale of all time, I'm not going to say was the biggest sale I've ever made. I'm actually going to say it was a recent sale a few months ago. So we made a 20K sale through a Facebook ad. And the reason that is so exciting for me is because I'm 36 years old, right? So for me, it's still amazing that you can put an ad. So in our case, we do video marketing, right? So you can put a video up on Facebook. You can have someone that has no idea who you are, see that video, see your ad, click on your ad, ask for a call, and then go through your sales process, become a customer, and you can make a 20 grand sale with someone almost like that you didn't know. So you kind of create this money out of nowhere, which for me is really, really exciting. And the other thing is that with that Facebook funnel, we can attract the exact right customers that we want. So that's a really proud moment for me, and I know that there's a lot of potential in our Facebook funnel from now on.
How big was that deal?
Yeah, so it's 20K deal.
Jeez, that's
Through a
amazing.
Facebook ad. How cool is that?
Absolutely. Congrats on that, buddy. It's always really exciting. Like, I remember I closed my very first 20K deal and I was electrified. I was like, oh my God. I remember that very moment when the client was asking how much it was. And I literally did say 25,000, and I literally kept my cool and really not flinching on that part. And it was awesome. Similar situation. I did it over the phone. I didn't actually have to meet the client in person, and it was just really phenomenal to really have that experience. And I'm really glad that you went through that whole experience, but obviously through Facebook, which is really, really cool.
It's beautiful, man. It's actually something that I've learned a lot from you. Obviously, me and you do a lot of masterminding together, and I've noticed that you have no fear about presenting your value. Obviously, you've made some really big sales recently that we've talked about. And yeah, I love that. I think there should be no divide these days. Just because you meet someone online, it doesn't mean that you can't present the value of your product.
Absolutely. Now, dude, let's get into details. I love details because I want our fellow listeners to really understand, and deconstruct, what it was like when you were closing that person. Now, when you spoke to them, obviously it's a Facebook lead that came in. And were you prepared? Did you know that they had 20K, or was it kind of, walk me through that process and how you went into closing that deal. Yeah.
Sure. So I guess every salesperson knows, you especially, that a sales deal never goes exactly to plan. It's never lead to phone call to sale, right?
Amen, yes.
And so of course this was the same thing. So for us, we have a really, really well-defined sales process. All of our calls are scripted. We've got a really good content strategy, really good follow-up process, retargeting ads everywhere, all that sort of thing. And this is one of those deals that
I like that. Carry on.
Mandatory, right? So this is one of those deals where all of that came into play, and obviously it was just the right client. He's a really great guy, the perfect client for us. We get along really well. He likes my style, I like his style, which is really good. But yeah, so we originally went through our discovery call, which is our initial sales call. That is a 45-minute video conference. We took him through, obviously understood his situation, what they needed, and then we made some solution recommendations based on their situation. To be honest, when we progress deals, we usually give 3 different options, so that even if they're not 100% sure yet, then they can take a lower option and perhaps upgrade into a higher option. But in this case, the prospect and I, we bonded from the word go, and he chose the higher option.
Wow. So it's almost like you go through an analysis of finding out what it is that they want first and foremost, because it's a warm prospect who came from Facebook, and then from then onwards you analyze and presented 3 options that would help be best suited for them, correct?
Yeah, 100%. So the thing with digital advertising is that only a certain type of person will respond to your ad. So depending on the words in your ad, the type of video in your ad, only a certain person will feel the desire to click through. So by the time a lead comes to me, I generally already know what their problems are. I generally already know what their situation is. But I think me and you are exactly the same in that I really dislike companies who will just sell the same product to every single person. for me, it's all about understanding exactly what the situation is and then designing a solution that achieves what they need rather than just trying to sell any product and hope for the best.
I like that a lot. I use the analogy, which is being a doctor and really going in and really actually having a full analysis of the situation and then offering a perfect solution that's suited for their situation. And I really like that what you did was really give the clients three options for what would be best suited for them in regards to, I guess that's more for options and budgets. Is that kind of the reason why your strategy of that kind of works?
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. So we're a digital agency, right? So with our clients, we work on a video first, and then off the back of that video, we can put that to use in Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, or Google ads, or a website or whatever. So for us, what the attitude we take is when we get onto a sales call, understand the situation, then we say, okay, what would we design for this prospect if they had a completely unlimited budget? So that's always our top option, and we include a complete bells and whistle solution. Now, not every client, not every prospect is necessarily ready to go into that first big package. So then we'll design subsets of that package where we can still get them results that they're after, but perhaps it isn't as grandiose as the full package.
I really like what you just shared earlier. I mean, this is such a very subtle thing, and what you just shared was really having the perception as if they had an unlimited budget and really offering like what the best solution would be for them. And I think that's definitely a great takeaway from that, because I mean, that's such a really great concept, because I know from other things that I've learned, it's really seeing the client, and really making sure that you give them the best possible opportunity to help solve their problem. Am I correct on that?
Totally agree, man. Me and you have exactly the same attitude with these sorts of things. Like, first of all, there's no tricky snake oil salesmanship. Nothing like I feel like in corporate companies, they're just kind of trying to get people over the line. It's not like that at all. It's more understanding the situation. Also, I mean, I've got to say that more often than you would think, the clients choose that option A because they realize that you've taken a consultative approach. You've shown them exactly what their problems are and exactly how you would resolve them. And, I've just found, not in every case, but in more cases than you would think, the prospect actually chooses the highest solution because they have more budget than they've let on.
Wow, I like that, buddy. Because I think there's a little bit of a mindset in that. I know when I started out in this whole journey, I think, to really put together a package of that 20,000 is completely out of my magnitude. But really being able to see it from that perspective of, what would be the best value for them and the best return, I think it's definitely a big shift. So kudos to you on that.
100%. But by the way, I got to say that when I came out of the corporate world, that wasn't the way that I was selling at all. In fact, when I came out of the corporate world, my mindset was very much, how do I close them? Like, they weren't even a person. It wasn't like, how can I help them? It was just like, how can I close? Whereas now I'm much more in line with, okay, cool, what can I do to produce the most possible value for this person?
Jeez, that's amazing. Because I guess it would be such a different attitude, coming from a corporate to obviously starting your own business, right? You're definitely seeing the real truth as to what it would really take to help close a deal. I like that a lot, buddy. I really like that a lot. Excellent.
Nice.
I'm curious, Sanjay, really getting into this whole thing, and, I think you briefly mentioned about this, but I'm curious, walk me through what it's like when you prepare for a meeting. Do you do a little bit of analysis on them prior to the phone call, or do you kind of just go in to really just have a clean slate? What is the process?
It depends on the type of meeting, of course. So if the meeting is already for a customer and I'm running what we call a visionary strategy session, so something to kick off the project, then me and the team do an exhaustive analysis, and there's so much preparation and that sort of thing. But I think in context of this conversation, we're talking about a sales call, what we call a discovery call. In that case, my preparation time is 10 minutes. So that's really tough for me. I usually trying to do as much as I possibly can in the 10 minutes. But reason being, because we have a Facebook funnel, because we have leads coming in consistently, it means that I've got a limited time to work through sales calls during the day. And our discovery process goes for 45 minutes if the prospect is a right fit. So I give myself 10 minutes. It's a strict timer. And generally what we'll do is, first of all, we've got a HubSpot CRM, so we'll check out all of the communications that have been made, make sure I understand exactly what we've discussed so far. Then do website review, LinkedIn review, all of the standard things. What I need to have prepared.
Whoa, what's the standard thing? I don't know what the standard thing is.
Good one. Talking 100 miles an hour. So I suppose in my eyes, the standard things are just checking online profiles and social media. So we'll go through their website, make sure we understand what they do, obviously, their LinkedIn profile, understand the content that they've recently been releasing, what content they've been engaging with. So what they're interested in is important. And then we'll check their company Facebook pages, Twitter pages, that sort of thing. So that is my...
do you know what you're looking for? Like when you do these researches, what are you kind of, is there something that you're kind of extracting when you're doing that research out of curiosity?
Yeah, so I'm looking for unique value proposition more than anything. So I want to understand their company, what's unique about their company, so that when we get on the phone and we start discussing videos, I can ask them about what's unique about them, why they're different from their competitors, and then we can focus our discussion on that.
I like that. And is there a reason for it? Just like so you can have the opportunity to help them close more deals? Is that the reason why you want to find their value proposition?
It's actually, I haven't actually thought about this until you've asked us, but it goes back to about a year ago. We put this into our process intentionally. The reason is because on the discovery call, I don't want it just to be a sales call where I'm just like trying to close the deal. As I was saying, actually my aim is to try and enlighten them about their business. So my feeling is if I can really mastermind their unique value proposition with them and show them the exact type of message that would make them stand out in video, that would generate results in video, then I feel like we'll both be on the same page. I've given them value. They can see that we're good at this and we know what we're doing.
I like that approach, buddy, because like that's a really amazing thing. It seems like I'm hearing a lot of care in you wanting to understand their business holistically, right? And really finding out how you can add value by understanding the value proposition, and as a result, then presenting a solution that's best suited to their situation.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Scott, you know me well enough. I've got massive ambition for this company, and I guess I don't like revenue is super important for us, and that's obviously part of the growth of any business. But I feel like the best strategy for growing is actually caring about not only prospects but everyone that's around your business, whether it be clients, whether it be joint venture partners, employees, that sort of thing. So that care strategy is because we actually care, and it's also a business tactic. You know, I think most forward-thinking business leaders agree with that.
Wow, that's a really nice approach. Yeah, you're definitely right about that. You know, when people know that you're trying to sell them, yeah, they can really feel that. And when there's a genuine care, like when you have that genuine careness, it's like a different level. So I'm totally relating with that.
100%. I love the way that you said that as well. They can feel it. Like, you know when someone's trying to sell you, and you know when someone's just trying to do the best for you.
Gotcha. Were you always like this, Sanjay?
No. In summary, no. I guess I've always been a nice person. I guess everyone would say that. But the real kind of intention to give as much value as possible is something that I've learned. I'm going to say over the last couple of years, when I first got into business, again, I started my business wanting 4-hour work week, wanting to travel all over the world, wanting to not work hard, wanting everyone else to do work, all that sort of thing. Everything was about me. Whereas as I've grown in business, I've realized that the pleasure, the glory in business is actually how much you can give to other people. I don't mean to be really woo-woo or really happy-go-lucky. I'm just saying that that's the most inspirational way to run business in your life.
Wow, buddy, beautiful spoken. Like, you're right about that, right? Especially when getting into the journey for this, you realize that it's not only just the surface level, but there's an underlying pin for it. And it's just really interesting to hear how people go through that journey, realizing that, hey, it's not just about money. There's also about caring factor of it. This is
Totally
awesome,
agree.
buddy. Yeah, this is awesome. Like, I'm curious about this. Like, I guess I want to find out. Obviously, you weren't like this before, and then you transitioned to this. Where did you learn from? Like, how did you kind of learn this whole experience to become so good at closing deals and doing big deals? Yeah, tell me about that.
Nice. So my original mentors were spectacular. I know that you know some of them as well, and to this day have so much gratitude because they basically took me out of the corporate world, showed me how to set up a business, showed me how to get things up and running, and it was a beautiful thing. But I guess the way I was originally taught was to build a business that was all about me, all about my life, all about me being able to do what I want, and then I feel like I evolved to my next set of mentors who have taught me that, look, business is all about giving. It's all about making an impact. If you don't want to give and you don't want to make an impact, then you probably shouldn't be in business because there's no longevity there, or even if there is longevity, you're going to suffer in general. So I've just evolved. I guess I've got new mentors now. Now my pleasure and my adventure in life is the hard work, is leaning into the fear and the stress of business. And as you know, it's like super hard, lots of anxiety and lots of tenuous moments all the time. But that is the pleasure of business.
It sounds like what I'm hearing over here, you definitely set yourself up for success, right? And I'm curious, which is now getting to more of the specifics for it. What kind of advice would you give someone who is looking to get and evolve into that mindset of being able to close deals and really just have that giving attitude? What kind of advice would you give them in really going through the first step and the baby stone to becoming that type of person?
I I think I think having the right type of people around you, the right type of content around you, and the right type of mentors. So I hate cliches, but I am a fan of the cliches like your network is your net worth and you are the average of the five people you spend most time around, that sort of thing. So I think first of all is just if you've got a firm set of goals and you know what you want to achieve, then make sure you have people around you that have similar goals or bigger goals is super important. I think the right type of content. So we're surrounded by content, especially as digital marketers. So you just got to be super careful about what sort of video content you're watching, what sort of books you're reading, what sort of training you're getting, that sort of thing. And then I'm going to say mentors and a mastermind. I think masterminds are super, super, super important. I've always been in one, whether it's the one that I'm currently in or the one before. I think like when you've got a mentor that's already achieved what you want to achieve, and then you've got a whole group of people that are working together to get each other up to that level, I think that can be extraordinarily valuable. I think that's also why me and you do a lot of masterminding together.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to give you some context, so me and Sanjay, we have monthly, also weekly accountabilities where every single week we touch base and really make sure that we're accountable for reaching our goals. And definitely a pleasure to have you on.
Absolutely. Sometimes, for anyone that's watching, sometimes it turns into a bit of a therapy session, which is also super valuable because by the end of that hour, depending on who of us is going through the stress or who of us is celebrating, we kind of feel clear again and ready to start the next task.
I think what you just shared is a very valuable thing. I know through our sessions that we go through the masterminding, it's interesting because what I heard in what you just shared is almost having a terminal, especially when you got a situation that you don't know how to close or you don't know how to engage or don't know how to approach. There really is that moment of reflection and really having a terminal to be able to go and speak to and have that advice or have a different light shone to a situation. Like I had a moment, I think maybe it was with you or it was with my other mentor, but I had a client that just wasn't too happy with it and the sale didn't really go as well. And from that conversation that I had with my mentor, what I unraveled was it definitely wasn't a right fit. And it's sometimes like having someone who's an outside perspective, someone who's very experienced to really see what the situation is. And so I think, in what you were just
100%.
sharing, having that terminal out there is super important because number one, you can really have someone see your situation in a new light, and that you won't get drowned in your situation. So this is awesome. I like that a lot, man.
I totally agree. And like you pick up things by osmosis from the people around you. So if you can have a mentor that's already achieved the goals that you've achieved, then it kind of normalizes it. So like I've had mentors that have done $1 million months, for example. So a few years ago, before I met that mentor, I would have thought that is ridiculous and impossible. But when you then see that person is just a normal person, they've got their own faults, they've got their own issues. Sometimes, they might be shy or whatever in certain situations. They're not bulletproof, but you realize, okay, cool. Well, if they can do it, then no reason I can't do it.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely having that possibility part. I know I used to definitely be in the low ranges, closing 1,000, 2,000 was like, oh my God, already. And then now getting into the ranges of closing a 5-figure deal is like a standard now. And that's like
I love it.
such a shift in mentality, right? And, I'm not definitely in the marks of making $1 million a month yet, right? But really having that idea of, having that very possible in your space, I think is really, really valuable. Would you say so?
You have been amazing at that, yeah, 100%. You're obviously very good at mindset sort of things, and obviously I'm saying this because you give me some mindset coaching as we go. But I love the way you just said it. You said it so comfortably, in that now I'm in the space of 5-figure deals. It's not a strain for you. It's not something that's outrageous. It's just what you are. It's beautiful.
That's right. That's right. Buddy, I guess I thought I might get back into this, which is, do you have a favorite form? What's your favorite way of closing a deal? Do you have a strategy that you would kind of advise other people on how you like to close deals?
Yeah. I think as long as you have a tried and tested, documented process, I'm going to say is my favorite way. And the reason I say that's super important is because closing deals is hard. It's super hard, especially when you start closing bigger and bigger deals, and especially with a company like mine. We're an online company, right? So I'm closing deals with people that I've never actually met. I've never actually shook their hand before. Sometimes they're in foreign countries. So trust is a really, really big factor. And there's a lot of different variables, right? So I say, my favorite way to close a deal is to have a very well-defined and structured process that you've planned and rehearsed many times, that has lots of moving parts. And in the one in every 50 times that process runs spectacularly perfect to the dot, that's my favorite way to close a deal.
Wow, I like that. So it sounds like definitely setting yourself for success by having systems in place and being able to practice in knowing your stuff in order to really provide for your clients, right?
Yeah, that's so important, Scott. So I can't believe the amount of companies that don't have a documented process. In fact, I used to work at Deloitte, right? So when we would put together a sales process, when we'd put together a sale for these big multinational companies, there was no process. A lot of people don't know this. I'm not sure that I should be saying this, but I guess I've already said it. These big corporates, they don't really have a process. Everything's just kind of pieced together. So how can you measure what's successful and what's not? How can you tell where the bottleneck is? How can you tell where you need to focus your improvements?
Wow. Yeah, definitely super key on that part. I definitely want to wrap this up and find out, Sanjay, what kind of advice would you give other people who are looking to improve their ability in closing deals, and I guess based on the theme of today's conversation, reach to the more bigger deals?
I would say get a mentor that can teach you a defined and tested process, and then monitor that defined and tested process. I think that's the key. For me, I had no idea how hard this was going to be. By this time now, I think I've run about 900 leads, which probably means I've done it over a couple of thousand sales calls or sales meetings, right? So I did not realize how intensely difficult it was going to be. Even to this day, excuse the swearing, but I'm going to say that every deal is a shit show, right? Every sales process is a shit show. So I think if you feel like you can just do it on your own, I think I think you're kidding yourself, especially as digital technology gets more and more pervasive, especially when you're trying to close deals online with someone that you haven't met. So yeah, I'd say get a mentor who has a tried and tested process, and then you can follow and test.
Perfect. Sanjay, definitely, that's some very, very valuable themes today in what we discussed. I'm curious, if someone wants to find out more about your services and what you do, where can they find you?
Yeah, great. Visionarydigitalstudios.com. Fill out the lead form and you can see our sales process in action live.
Perfect. Sanjay, pleasure to have you on today, buddy.
It's been real, man. Thanks so much, Scott. Talk to you soon.
Ciao.